So let's go on and get into it. Let's talk about Deion Sanders, Coach Prime. So he is 11-0. He was undefeated this season. Had a really great season, a couple of hiccups and a lot of conversation about certain comments and the Eddie Robinson Jr. situation. But he's been mentioned in a lot of talks for coaching jobs for a lot of different schools. Of course, Auburn, Georgia Tech, it was different schools he was mentioned for. But we know definitively that Deion Sanders was offered a job at Colorado, and he even confirmed it. And a lot of folks in the media, Keyshawn Johnson in particular, on Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max on ESPN, like they've been pushing for him to take the job. It's some media members that say, hey, don't take that job. It's another job that's coming. But a lot of HBCU folks are a little bit sad because it's like, dang, already? And like, it ain't been like a full 2 years. The season ain't even over yet. You still got the Celebration Bowl. If you make it out the SWAC Championship. So it's just a lot going on. So Arielle, I want, just to toss it to you. So first and foremost, how do you feel about the fact that, number one, he's being offered these jobs, and number two, the fact that it seems like the media just continues to report these jobs and almost manifest him into these other jobs outside of Jackson State?
I mean, well, first, congratulations to Jackson State on having an undefeated season, and then the SWAC Championships. We know that's going to be amazing, and I can't wait to see them progress. So congratulations on that. To be honest, and it's always me. It's Ari. It's in my name. It starts with an A. We're always going to play devil's advocate over here. I think he's a good coach. He's beyond okay, but he's not great. But he is a good coach when it comes to knowing the game, positioning his players, and making sure that they're doing what they need to do and execute it in practice so that way they can win and be an undefeated team. I'll give him props for that. What I don't want him to do is leave just yet, especially I think people are really gassing it, especially on ESPN, Stephen A. Smith, some other reporters that we look up to put him all the way in the SEC, I think is a stretch, because the SEC is a very, 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 very tough conference. Like you don't go in there without having those big dogs, big boys, and knowing what you're doing. You can ask Kirby Smart. You can ask all these other teams. You can even ask the former coach of Florida State. It is hard to stay within that job. It is also hard to cultivate a kind of culture where you're consecutively winning and producing playoff appearances every single year. Ask Alabama, ask the University of Miami. It's not easy being in that conference. The Colorado State offer and everything else that's been going on, I feel like if he does it, I'm not against progression, but I feel like it's a little disrespectful for the media to keep pushing this because, being in the media and doing what we do, I think we're, to us, this is probably being biased, but I think we're the most unbiased that I've heard. And I think it's a little disrespectful that you keep doing that to HBCUs. Like, you got a good thing and then you want to take it from us when you just told us we need to produce more good things to get where you are. So for PWIs and for other broadcasters to say, oh, well, maybe he should leave because this is a HBCU. We don't know if they're going to get any better. We don't know if they're going to move. We don't know if they're going to maintain this kind of consecutive winning culture or if they're going to keep having these really, really nice signing days and recruitments. I just feel like it's really disrespectful. And I kind of don't want him to leave. I feel like there's so much more work that he could do with Jackson State, build a little mini empire of sorts. But from there, I think he deserves it. No SEC. I think it's disrespectful that the broadcasters keep saying that he should go there, but I want him to give Jackson State another year. What do you think, Randall? Am I wrong?
So I don't think you're wrong at all. I wish he would stay, and I know that the chatter is going to come. And I'm gonna say two things because this is two things on my mind. So the first thing is like I feel like, and someone's probably said this before. This is the obvious example for a guy, but I feel like Deion Sanders being at Jackson State is like having like a beautiful girlfriend, and it's like these other guys are looking. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, man. Like, are you secure enough to be with this beautiful woman that all these men want? That's how I sort of feel about Deion Sanders. I feel like we're not. We're in very insecure therapy, okay? Like, no, we're not. We don't want him to leave. We don't want him to go. I don't really want him to leave. I mean, I'm disconnected from it to a certain point because I didn't go to a SWAC school, nor did I go to Jackson State. And I was here, before Deion Sanders was here. You know what I'm saying? I started 2015 as far as like, being at Fort Valley and being a student. Then I started HBCU Pulse in 2017, and I was covering HBCU stuff as early as 2016. So I know life without Deion Sanders. I know life with Deion Sanders. And, we've gotten views because of Deion Sanders. People have watched, the podcast and listened to the podcast. And, we've had different videos that have gone viral on YouTube and Instagram because it's Deion Sanders. But I'm sort of detached from it because I knew that he was going to be Eddie Robinson, and not Eddie Robinson in the culture of winning, but Eddie Robinson in being an HBCU lifer. Because Eddie Robinson didn't go to an HBCU. And also that was like, the 1960s, 1970s, where he really reigned and was dominant. And he retired in the 1990s. I felt like, that's not fair to sort of have, Deion there, or Coach Prime, because people get mad if I say Deion. But like, I feel like it's not fair, to say, hey, stay here for the rest of your life, when we know that he wants to go higher. We know he wants to coach higher. We know he wants to build upon his legacy. But I just feel as if, like, I wish that we wouldn't always bring it up, and it's going to make us feel a certain type of way because we don't really know what's in his heart as far as where he wants to go and what he wants to do and when he thinks his time is up. But I will say this, because I said, like, the relationship analogy. Let me say this, because I feel like, I could peek out the window a little bit, and sort of say, just throw a rock and run. I think Deion Sanders is a really good coach as far as setting the culture. And I think a lot of black coaches are like that for basketball and football. But I don't know if he's the best X's and O's coach. I honestly do not know. It's some questionable decisions that he makes. He has some great coordinators. I don't think he's grown and matured in that way. And I know that there are people who would disagree. And Lord, I got called a beta male last time I said something like this. So don't call me a beta male. Just call me something else. But like, man, I don't think he's the best X's and O's coach. And everyone isn't that. Everyone isn't that. Some folks are great motivators. They're great developers. Deion Sanders, he is an amazing recruiter. And he knows football. But I just think that when it gets to those moments when you have a coach that's a tactician or has more experience, he sort of gets exposed. I think that, Coach Buddy Pugh in the Celebration Bowl sort of exposed him. And the one advantage that Deion Sanders has that sort of trumps the X's and O's style of coaching is you have so much talent. Well, you have Shador at quarterback. You have Travis Hunter on both sides of the ball. So you have all these amazing players, and as long as he stays at Jackson State, he's going to continue to have great players. So those great players in that system with the quarterback such as Shador, they're going to flourish. Same thing with the defense. He's a defensive guy. So they're going to flourish because they're so talented. But I can't say to Deion Sanders, oh, he's a great X's and O's coach. He knows, hey, like offense, defense, this is the play to do. Because I can't really say that. What we say often is that Deion Sanders is a great recruiter. But we don't say, man, he coached the hell out of that game. We don't say that. We say, man, he really got a hell of a recruit. That's what we say. So I think that can be an impediment to him at the next level. But no matter where he goes, I'm still watch. Like I'm going with him as far as like watching. But to me, I have sort of like I'm sort of disconnected from the whole entire thing because I'm tired of the conversation. And if he wants to leave, just leave. I mean, we'll get over it. And we were good before he was at Jackson State. We're going to be better after because he did a lot of great things. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to wish him well. And a lot of us are still going to watch him because I am. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I feel about it.
I just, and when you say that, it brought up a point that I hope that his impact is lasting enough that if he did decide to leave, because it's up to him. And I think being who he is, he could do it. I don't think it's a smart move to do now, but he could do it, making sure that his impact is lasting. Because the fear for me is if Jackson State, because the main thing is if he stays, is Jackson State going to pay him the way that he deserves to be paid? Because he deserves to have a raise big time. Y'all went to back-to-back playoffs. You're about to go back-to-back Celebration Bowl. This man deserves the coins that he has done for this program. So that's one of the things. But if they don't keep him, will Deion Sanders iterate that, we still need players to sign and want to be recruited and make sure that those like 5-star and 4-star recruits are still wanting to go to HBCUs. That's my only thing for me. I think he's done great. And like you said, he sets the culture very well. But make sure when you set the culture stays there. It doesn't just leave with you. Because my fear is if you leave and then you're just like, I want to do better for my son too, and you make your sons leave, it's kind of like, well, if they're leaving because they know they could do better, then I don't have to be here anymore. And then everything that he's done in the past 2, almost 3 years, besides his coaching years, has depleted. So that's just my thing. I have nothing against him. I mean, we all know about our debate with Deion Sanders and what he's done and all that good stuff, but making sure the culture stays where it's supposed to. And if he does, he moves into the right decision. Everything else, I just, like you said, I'm tired of the talk too, but it's just stuff you have to think about. Is Jackson State going to step up? And if Deion Sanders decides to leave, I think he needs to talk to other people what his path is going to look like, but make sure the culture that he had remains at Jackson State.
I'm just listening to us talking. I'm like, they're gonna eat us alive. Like I'm just listening to us talk. So listen, y'all don't eat us alive, y'all. We're just giving our opinion. We on y'all side, okay? I'm about to say something real good about Jackson State, but like I'm just saying I am, because I'm on the HBCU side, of course. I want to just say this. So I understand that, and I'm looking at collegefootballresults.com, one of my favorite websites, because I learned a lot about history of all schools and their football programs. So from 2014 to 2017, Jackson State had 4 losing seasons. They were 5-7 2014, 3-8 2015, 3-8 2016, 3-8 2017. 2018 they were 5-5. 2019 they were 4-8. So of course we know that Deion Sanders came in and became the coach of Jackson State in 2020. Then of course they went 11-2, only losing 2 games. Of course, the Celebration Bowl. And now they're undefeated on this year. But 2013, 8-4, 2012, 7-5, 2011, 9-2, 2010, 8-3, 2009, they had a losing season. But 2008, 7-5, 2007, 8-4. Like, they've had winning seasons in the past 20 years. So this one's I think of, Jackson State was an albatross. Jackson State wasn't winning. It was all Deion Sanders. And it was because he reinvented the program for what it has been these past 2 years. But we have to not get it twisted, because Jackson State is a great football program and they've won in recent years. Because there are some programs, like if you look at Campbell's record, for example, when we like, Campbell's going to beat these different teams, and we realize, well, North Carolina A&T, they played good against A&T, but A&T beat them. You had Jackson State beat them. North Carolina Central should have beaten them. You know what I'm saying? So they really should be about 3-1? Because I'll give you Delaware State, because Delaware State was okay this year, but North Carolina Central should have beaten Campbell. Jackson State did. North Carolina A&T did. Look at their history. Their history ain't got nothing on Jackson State. There ain't no Walter Payton at Campbell. So it's like that's the part that really irks me, because to be honest with you, I don't think that Jackson State, if he were to leave, is going to just be 0-11. I don't think that. Honestly, don't. I think that they're going to be just fine. Now, they're going to be beating everybody, number 1 defense in FCS. Maybe not, but come on, it's Jackson State. They'll be fine. I mean, that's the part that really gets to me. If he leaves, he leaves. But I don't like the dragging of Jackson State and the dragging about how bad HBCUs are as we're talking about it. If he leaves, fine. Are there things we need to fix with HBCUs? Yes, we do. A lot of things. And I can go through the laundry list, and we don't have the time. But we're not the slums. Like I've been saying, we're not the slums. He didn't come to the slums. He came to Jackson State University. Walter Payton. Like we want Shedeur to win the Walter Payton Award. Like the Walter Payton Award. He went to Jackson State. I just that's all I got to say about it. You know what I'm saying? Like I just stop dragging down Jackson State and saying, Deion Sanders, they leave's gonna be LeBron James. I don't think that. I think that at the very least they'll be Miami. Like when LeBron left the Heat, they'll be Miami. They got they don't want to be there. You know what I'm saying? They make a couple playoffs. They won't win a championship. But you know what I'm saying? But it's like they'll be that. So don't do that to them. All right.
Like what you hear?
Yeah.
Subscribe to HBCU Pulse Radio on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Also, head to HBCUPulse.com to stay up to date on what's going on in the HBCU community. Thank you for listening to HBCU Pulse Radio.